Hello there, guys, and welcome back to Bright Founders Talk from Temi, an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. Today, guys, we've got a new guest with us, Mauro Germani. He is the CEO and co-founder at SoPlayer. First of all, I always like to get the guest to pronounce their names correctly because it's not my forte. So give me just the correct pronunciation of your name and just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. It's Mauro Germani. This is the Italian pronunciation, let's say.
Magically.
So I've been here in entrepreneurship since 9 years right now. So everything started when I was at university. Basically, I was doing a little bit of consultancy and network marketing as well while studying, and that's where I learned a lot of very useful things like public speaking, selling, organizing events, many other things. But what I was lacking actually was freedom to launch new initiatives, new business lines, because it was too strict from the company I was working for. So basically, the thing that enlightened me was when I watched this video, this TED of Ken Robinson called "How Do Schools Kill Creativity?" And that enlightened me to actually move and launch my first company. And so I worked a little bit and I launched an escape room, which was pretty fun actually. And that's also where I learned how short-term trends and hype is not the right thing to go towards to. And so after that, I decided that I needed to do something with my passion, which is food and hospitality. So we launched a POS and food delivery system, sort of operating system for restaurants. And I learned about fundraising, team management, founder issues, made all the mistakes of my life. And more importantly, I learned how procurement in restaurants, hospitality was the next big thing. And we had the right team, we had the right timing for the first time. So the first competitor was growing in US and in China. There was nothing in Europe, and that's why we decided to launch SoPlayer. We pivoted a couple of times until we launched the current business model in 2019 and grew up to 10 million revenue, 60 people, raised 4 million, and built a stellar team. And so that's where I'm at right now.
Nice. And guys, on the listening to this episode, you can see now how to correctly pronounce SoPlayer. Makes sense when you pronounce it that way, then SoPlayer. Most definitely. Tell me a little bit more about the world of food tech entrepreneurism. What is food tech entrepreneurism like? It's not very often that I get this kind of side of the industry on the show. Tell me the difficulties you have faced in this industry.
So hospitality industry is a good and bad place to be at this moment because so the good thing is the technology, the state of the art in technology in this space, it's not actually up to date. It's like we were stuck 30 years ago, especially for what regards procurement and some other aspects of restaurants. So we are used to order everything through Deliveroo or Just Eat, etc. But what we don't know is that actually in the back of the kitchen, it's still a mess, still no technology. And so what's really interesting is that is greenfield. You can do and develop whatever actually you want. And there's a lot of space to improve, to get a huge market share and build a stellar company and help a lot of restaurateurs and chefs. On the other side, of course, the other side of the coin is that being so complicated and so being a huge lack of technology, the point is we have difficulties to enter the market, to teach customers why technology is important for their business and many other things like that. So the good and the bad things of being on the verge of a great transition to the tech world in a specific industry.
We're going to go into this a little bit more detail throughout this podcast episode, but let's start with a little bit more about what you're doing there as SoPlayer. Where did the idea come from?
So that's
you said that you figured it out, and you've experienced that lack of kind of the ability to do everything. But where specifically were you sitting down and all of a sudden just a light bulb moment, or was it a conversation with colleagues?
So it all started from where it should be. So like talking with customers, we spoke with a lot of customers with our previous company. We understood that besides all the technology that we were delivering to them, the main pain point, which was common to basically all of them, was to simplify the procurement process. So it was still pen and paper, from the ordering to the invoicing to the payment. It was very hard to find different, let's say, artisan or niche or particular products for their kitchen. So they, on the one side, they had the option to buy from traditional big distributors, wholesalers with the same product, average quality, low service level, etc. Or on the other side, they could just go and spend a lot of time and money to build and run a complex supply chain made of dozens of farmers and specialized small distributors and stuff. And so what we understood is that we needed to simplify all the thing. And so we started with a basic SaaS tool. So they were putting orders through this tool. Then we understood that actually it was not just about ordering. You needed to have precise invoices, precise payment terms and payment methodologies, etc. So we integrate them all. And finally, we understood that most of the producer, the farmers, and not the big wholesalers, they don't have the ability to create, to perform a strong, fast, and efficient and reliable delivery. And so there's where we understood that what the market needed was actually a sort of an Amazon for restaurant supplies. So an integrated platform that could cut any intermediaries, that could provide better margins for both chefs and farmers, and provide fast and reliable delivery for both as well.
Tell me a little bit more about, you speak earlier about the industry was and staying quite far behind in the times. You obviously set out on this venture in 2017, if I'm correct. What have been the changes and the kind of evolutions in the industry which has enhanced your work at Supplier?
So we have experienced some major trends during these years, of course enhanced by COVID as well. But generally speaking, the point is that we experienced a huge price increase of raw materials, and that made restaurants understand even more that it was time to move very fast towards shorter supply chain, and in order to reduce the food cost that was growing massively. The second big trend was the lack of employees in the restaurant business. So having less employees to work in your restaurants, and the ones you can hire actually cost more, make you understand why it's so important to digitize the most in your restaurants, in your venue, especially when it comes to procurement, because you need to manage a lot of complexity, and not all the restaurants have the capability to hire a food and beverage manager. So that was the second big trend. And the third one actually was the changes in consumer behavior. So actually what happens is that you need to have more frequent, fast, and efficient deliveries to your restaurant, because you don't know, actually, also thanks to food delivery explosion, you don't know how to plan inventory properly. So one delivery per week is no more a thing for a restaurant. It's not sustainable anymore. So the only way is to have faster and efficient deliveries, and frequent as well. And so I think that these are the biggest trends that allow us to grow even faster.
Tell me a little bit more about, we're speaking now about the changes over the years, but let's look into the future a little bit. What do you predict to be the kind of the evolution of the digitization of the restaurant food industry business over the next kind of 5 years? It's one of those things that, I mean, from the back office, it may have huge amounts of differences, but at least from the front office where people sit in the restaurants, not noticeable. What kind of changes, evolutions are you going to see in the next 5 years?
Basically, we have seen a lot of innovation in food delivery for restaurants. And so I think that trend, okay, it's growing for sure in the next 5 years, but that it's not a big thing anymore. It's going to expand to late stages of the whole market. What I've seen that is actually very interesting is the changes in food menuing. So menus will be shorter and shorter. Restaurants would use the same ingredients in more dishes in order to optimize their profit, etc. Menu engineering, especially in the European context, will be a strong new thing. So you don't have any more big, huge amount of products, of dishes. It will be much more engineered in the sense that you will know precisely as a restaurateur which are the recipes, the dishes with the best margins in terms both of euros and percentage, and you will enhance those in the menu. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about menu engineering, but that would be definitely a big trend, and that will go together with all the transition towards non-animal based ingredients. So we will have much more offer in that sense for sure, and supply chains need to adapt to that as well.
Let's talk a little bit more about your team. First of all, how big is your team now?
So right now we are 55 people. We have 25, 30 people in headquarters, plus all the other people in the operations across the different logistic hubs that we have in the Italian market.
Really interesting. Tell me a little bit more about how your team has contributed to the rapid growth, because you've achieved over the 1 million in turnover in just 2 years. So tell me more about how the team played part to that.
Yeah, sure. So at the beginning, in the early phase, up until 1 million of revenue, that was most our founders, our founding team. So we are four founders with different competencies. So I'm focused basically on the sales part, Giancarlo on the operations, David on marketing, even on the technology side. So we have the right ingredients for the earliest stages of the company, so we didn't need to hire that many people. So that was the focus of the initial employees with their, they had also stock options of the company to feel part of what we were building. So it was very hard times, building, talking to customers, change and pivot a couple of times until we get to that first milestone. And then from the 1 million to the 10 million revenue, which is where we are right now, basically, that was mainly try and test to hire the best leading team leaders for our company. So the sales team lead, the procurement team lead, the operation team lead, etc. So I think that this is one of the hardest parts of growing as a company, as a startup, especially if you didn't hire executives or very experienced people. They're more experienced than you in their vertical. And so you need to understand the right fit, the cultural fit, and also the stage fit from the company to their experience. In fact, we made several mistakes on that until we finally create a great executive team that is actually allowed us to achieve this first milestone of 10 million revenue, and it's the fundamental of the next years of growth at Supply.
So I've seen you've been it's not your first time being a founder, yeah, second time around it being a founder. Tell me, what is your favorite kind of period to work in of your group? Obviously, all the founders that come to the show, they tell me that at a founder, every kind of 10, 15 new employees, you have to wear different hats. It requires a different part of you. What was the most interesting and enjoyment part for you in regards to being a founder and managing your team?
I think that one thing you need to consider is that you need to embrace the emotional roller coaster of launching and running a startup. So it's a lot of up and downs. One day you are super hyped, the next day it's very hard, or even in the same day, in the morning and in the afternoon. So you need to embrace that, and I think is one of the elements that you could enjoy, because definitely what I hate is having every day which is similar to the next one. So this is a thing that actually I like. And the other thing that I really like is when I see that you hire the right people, they are working well together, they are bound by the culture of the company, and they spread that culture while being making decision autonomously. And when you see a great product features or great processes or great revenue opportunities that were not thought in the first place by yourself, I think that's one of the greatest thing that you can have as a result as an entrepreneur. I really like that.
Tell me a little bit more about your experience. Let's go into that a little bit more. So, as I said there, not your first time round being a founder. What have you found that you've done differently at Supplier than you did at Tapfruit? So Supplier obviously going on for, what would that be, over 6 years now. Tapfruit, if I remember, was just over a year and a half. What have you done differently and which you've learned from Tapfruit and brought it through to Supplier?
Well, I think we could talk like 2 days about all the mistakes that we did earlier years, and that we tried not to do again. So first of all, the founding team. So we decided to select the best people that we could have in our network in order to have stronger fundamentals. The second thing was to work a lot with customers and sell stuff before even having built any product. So we tried to go to customers, we understood their problems, we spoke with hundreds of restaurants and hundreds of suppliers before even thinking of the right solution. So it was just on a piece of paper, thinking through the business model, how it could work, etc. And then we released the first product, the first concept, and we sold that concept to the customers without having the actual product besides. So we were saying, okay, we will launch in the next few months. You can buy now, and you will get the first access to the platform. You will get a discount, etc., etc. And after that, we built a simple Joomla website to test our hypothesis. So it was like 1 weekend of work, and we saw that our hypotheses were actually at the beginning wrong, then right, then not the specific right approach, etc., until we find the sweet spot, and then we started actually building our product. So I think that this kind of process, and also the continuous iterations even after you launched, is another important thing that we learned from past experiences.
Tell me more about your kind of personal experience moving through over these last kind of 7-8 years. As not having experience in building a company before this and being a founder, what did you find most difficult for you personally? And how have you changed over the last 8 years from that beginning day to present day?
What actually I changed the most, the most complicated thing, again, for me, is hiring the right people and managing all the people. So thinking through your culture, make it spread. But that's not a idealistic thing. It's just in the day-to-day. Like, this thing happens. How would you react to a person having a specific behavior? How do you teach and guide other people to learn how it's correct to react in your company regarding to a specific behavior? Who will you promote? Who will not be promoted? How much you want to be transparent in your company regarding salaries and how not? Like, these are all very different, difficult questions to answer. And also there's no right approach. It's like a company can have a culture of like a military culture. The ones that survives, the ones that selling the most survive, the others die. Other companies are more bound together, and so they work and help each other. There's not really a simple answer to that, and so you need to find your way out of this. So this is very complicated, as well as hiring the right people and understanding if you did the right hire, and if the person you hired is not performing well, or you are not putting them in the condition to work well, how much you are micromanaging and how not. This, I think, people-related stuff, generally speaking, culturally, hiring, scaling people, etc., I think are the most complicated things as an entrepreneur in the first experiences, let's say.
Really interesting. Really interesting. What I want for the last question from you, I want to know, either do you have like a motto, a saying, a quote, or kind of just a way of working, which you can share with our listeners? A lot of them will also be people looking to build up their startup as well in the early stages. What is your kind of go-to quote, motto, or maybe a book or some kind of learning which you've used to help you on your path?
So one of our mottos in the company is, let's say, work smart, party hard. And I think this is very important, especially because as an early entrepreneur or also in the future, if you don't think through partying, when I talk about partying, I mean celebrating stuff. If you don't think properly about that, you very easily miss the opportunity to celebrate something, even the smallest things. And then when you need to be harsh on the other side and say, okay, now we need to really work hard, etc., you will not get the team bound together and working hard again. So you need to remind, of course, that you need to work hard and work smart specifically, but also you need to party hard as well. So when you have the right thing to celebrate, you need to remember to celebrate that. So I think that that's very important. And regarding books, there's plenty that I think they're really, really interesting. But one specifically, I would say, is 0 to 1 to start. It's a great book to understand the very early phase in a company. So understanding what you will actually need to do.
What was the name?
0 to 1.
0 to 1.
Yeah, that's definitely a great book, specific about the business on the very early days at a company. So I would suggest that as advice.
I really like that as advice, because it's so often that we don't make time for even the small wins, but the small wins is a win and still needs to be celebrated for sure. Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on Bright Founders Talk today. It's been amazing to pick your brain, and I wish you and Supplier all the luck and success in the future. Hopefully we will connect again in the future and see how it's going. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.